So for our listeners, I'm Alexis Nichols, staff writer for Under the Hard Hat, and I'm here with Rowan Steel-Hall, the Chief Operating Officer at SMARTBUILD. Pleasure to have you with us today. I really appreciate you taking the time. I know you're super busy. So let's dive in. Let's start with the big picture. What inspired the creation of SMRT-E, and how is it kind of a logical offset of SMARTBUILD?
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. And Smarty's really exciting. I think what I'm passionate about is bringing technology into real people's hands. So when I see this, revolution that's happening in AI, and I nerd out in the really deep details of what's possible. When Zolk and I first spoke about the idea of Smarty and really creating a voice-based agent that people could use in the field that was targeted to construction to solve real problems out there in the field, it just clicked for me because I see kind of all the tools I use every day and just think like this is a mass focused tool that could serve a lot of people's needs, but it's a lot more specific than kind of Siri or ChatGPT or any of these other tools that are fantastic in the back end, but aren't well suited to actually getting paperwork done on the job site.
Yeah. Was there, could you walk us maybe through a specific moment or a problem on site or otherwise that made you say, we can do something better?
Sure. I mean, I think the initial idea came from Zolk, who has 30 plus years in the field, and so it's very natural to him. I joined while the product was early in development, but it immediately made sense to me. I've done work with a lot of restaurants, a lot of field-based teams in the past, and doing paperwork sucks. It's a terrible use of time. Nobody does it. And as someone who doesn't love doing it themselves, it just so intuitively made sense to me that if I could just speak to an agent that was questioning me in a detailed way, in the exact right way to fill out that form, I'd be made happy. And so I think of even as a parent, like filling out waiver forms that I have to do, like just sitting there and just clicking through or doing it, or I've worked at supply chain organizations in a manufacturing site, etc., and thinking about the forms and the paperwork you need to make all of those work. So, I don't imagine if I was on a job site wearing a hard hat and gloves and working with timber and, real world products, I'd have any more desire to type tiny little numbers and words into a cell phone.
Yeah. Seems that SMART-E kind of fits into SMARTBUILD's larger mission of taking the stress out of technology while shaping the world. I think that was from the site. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think anything we can do to remove friction for creating building is an asset to the industry.
Absolutely. Who did you design it for first? Would you say the field worker, project manager, executive teams, and how has that evolved?
Yeah, I think initially what got me excited was for the field. I think that the idea of taking someone in the field who speaks another language. I was speaking to a presentation the other day and talking about like in your field teams, not what languages can they speak, but what do they speak when they're talking to their family at home. And I would like to receive information from them in the language they would most prefer to communicate it, but I'm limited. I can't speak Spanish or Polish or, Portuguese, anything else.
Fair enough.
But if what you speak at home is that, and you're thinking about an issue and wanting to communicate it, I want you to communicate it to the best of your ability, and I'll trust the machine to get that to me in a way that I understand without forcing you into a second language that you may speak or not speak.
It really eliminates a lot of confusion, I think. If we think of SMART-E combining AI and voice reporting and compliance tools, what feature do you think users are most excited about right now?
I think it's really like the most compelling reference point that stuck with me is on average, people speak at roughly 15 times the speed that they can type into a cell phone. So I can type into a keyboard at 50 words a minute or whatever it is. I speak at about 150 words a minute, and I type into my phone at about 15 words a minute.
Okay.
So when I'm going through that, just that speed and like fluidity of thinking, because it's not just saving the minutes. I mean, the average safety report will take you roughly 2 to 3 minutes to fill out via voice. 15 times that is half an hour, right? Yeah. Half an hour is material savings.
Yes.
But even more so, I'm going to get my thoughts out at the speed I think. I'm not going to be sitting there, the friction and frustration with typing on a cell phone pad and kind of moving slowly.
Yeah.
Like that means I don't say as much, right? I just won't give as many details. I won't give the richness of details. And that means that upstream, the right decisions will get made.
Yeah, and saving time and minimizing errors and all of those things. No, that makes total sense. If you could tell our audience how, maybe high level, how SMRT-E integrates with existing platforms like Procore or Autodesk, and maybe what the philosophy was behind making it platform friendly.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like out there in the world, there's loads of tools coming out for technology, and we want to make it easy for our clients in the industry. So people are using Procore, people are using Autodesk, people are using other platforms too. So right from the outset of this idea, the vision was to have a platform that could stand on its own 2 feet.
Mm-hmm.
So you can interact with SMART-E there. It integrates exceptionally well into SMARTBUILD as well. But we want to be just as good for any Procore customer or Autodesk customer. And we've got a customer this week. We did a session with the team where they could take reports in the field and put them directly into their Procore system and see it right there.
Wow. I've also read that it can help with litigation support. Can you maybe explain how that works in layman's terms?
Sure. I mean, I think like step 1.0 of this is just anytime you find yourself in litigation in the construction industry, having access to the right information is going to be critical.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the early feedback points we got from a customer was making sure that we kept the language of record. For instance, if they speak into it in Spanish and then it translates it into English, let's keep the Spanish interpretation. So if you ever end up in ambiguous situations of what was said, you have the original. So improving the quality of information going upstream in the quantity of information will help anybody in a legal situation. And that's just the beginning. So there's a 2.0 of this that we're already working on in the background, where if you can imagine a world where you had a weather event at a site that caused a delay. So there's a frost in Texas. That means you can't have it if it was intended. When you get that, you would do the weather report in there. So you'd be able to say, hey, I was on site, like I wasn't able to fulfill this part of the function because of severe weather conditions. Mm-hmm. That's the beginning of it. You're doing that in voice, 2 minutes, done. Now, here's where the intelligent part comes in, right? It can take that and take the actual weather report based on your GPS location, so it kind of fact checks against it. It can compare that to what is typical in that part of the year, because if we're talking frost in Texas, okay, that's rare. If we're talking snow in the middle of winter in northern Canada, not so rare. So we can compare to how unique that situation was, right, and then compare it to the contract. And what we find is that you're typically allowed a certain number of delay days, etc., within your contract.
Sure.
So the entire schedule is a day behind because there was a severe weather condition. But if you don't send a notification saying that you had a severe weather condition causing a delay, then you're not kind of using one of those days. And so our system can take all of that information and spit it out directly into a draft email, which references the contract, which references the reported weather conditions, references the actual weather conditions, references the information you have provided on why it's a delay. Mm-hmm. And you as the business owner will have a choice, right? Like we don't want to make the industry more litigious than it is.
Right.
We'll give owners the option, do I want this or not? They will just have to hit send. So they'll create better paperwork that better captures what's happening in the when it comes to litigation. That'll create more equitable outcomes. All right.
That makes sense. It's wild. It's almost like having software on retainer.
Yeah, exactly.
How did you train the AI to really truly understand the construction environment, and how do you keep it updated with industry best practices?
Sure. So in the case of the reporting side, the key is really understanding what reports people need to do in the real world all the time. So this comes from having construction DNA at our core. So, Zolk has 30 plus years experience. Cash has another 30 years experience in the industry. I'm working closely with John Lehman, who's similarly tenured in the industry. So we've got real construction people who have worked in GCs and subcontractors here. So they have an intuitive understanding. And right now we're working with our clients to make sure that we customize it, because we're in the beta phase of rollout right now. And we're meeting weekly or bi-weekly with each of them to say what is working and not working. So a good example that they've brought up that is critical for them, but I hadn't thought about, is their daily reporting. They're typically not doing that at the end of the day as a single report. It's a whole series of things that they update throughout the day, because they might do deliveries at one time of the day. They might do a safety walk at one point in the day. And so what they're wanting is actually a series of small reports that go into the daily report. So the team at the moment this week are rebuilding that part of it to make sure it actually delivers it in the way that they need. And I think the more iterative feedback and so forth we get with customers, the better it's going to get. What I'm finding interesting, even on the calls, is we're talking to the foreperson on the job site for them and the owner. And I'm really listening for the situations where the owner has an unmet need from the foreperson. So that's something that we can encourage. But really importantly, too, what is the idea about how it should work from the foreperson that the owner's not thinking about it? Because I really want to get in touch with the people who are in the field doing the real work every day. Because if I can remove barriers to them, they will move faster. They will have more fun. It will be a more enjoyable industry. And there's 400,000 people needed to enter into the industry at the moment, right? It's a vastly understaffed industry, and anything we can do to make it so that the people actually doing the work's jobs are easier, the better we will all be, including sending my kids to school.
Right. It's amazing. So you've had real construction pros at all levels, kind of helping shape the design and the feedback loops and all of that. It's really important. What kinds of ROI are companies seeing after adopting SMRT-E in terms of like time savings, like fewer disputes, better compliance, things like that?
It's such early days right now. I don't have precise numbers on things like disputes and so forth, but
high level.
really, what we would expect them initially to see is material savings. So I would think per person using it, you're talking, let's call it 10 to 15 minutes per report that someone needs to do out there in the field, time saving. And then as you get into litigations and disputes, I would think you've got a lot more, like 2 to 3 times the amount of paperwork done. So how that will exactly flow through to dollars and cents, like we've got to work through that with our clients. But we're talking about pricing in the range of $20 per month per person. If you've got $100 a hour people, then you only need to save 10 minutes, and you've already got an ROI on it. So I'm very confident we can outperform our cost in a very material way. And we're intentionally pricing this to get adoption up, right? Like I don't want to have a elite tool that is only handed out to a few people in the field because they're the only ones that get it. I want to create a tool that lets it get to every person in the field, and particularly when you get into the folks who don't speak English as their primary language, right? Like if I can make their lives easier, there's a lot of skilled labor out there who are accessible the more you can communicate.
I interviewed someone recently who said that AI won't replace people, but they will replace people who don't know how to use AI. So if you think of field teams, and boots on the ground in that tier, what has the response been to using AI tools like SMRT-E, especially those who may not be tech savvy? How has the adoption been?
Sure. I think to roll this out is roughly a 20-minute conversation with someone, maybe a bit shorter. So the hardest bit of any technology is getting someone to sign in with their appropriate email and password. Once we've got through that, onboarding and training someone is in the minutes. And people are finding it very intuitive and easy to use. I think that the key here is for them, it's not about whether it's AI or not. It's just a technology that helps their day get easier, right? Like the AI is something for me to be thinking about. But for someone in the field, you're just helping them complete their paperwork in a way that's easier.
Yeah. Does it do what I need it to do? Is it easy to use? Yeah.
Exactly.
No, that makes total sense. You touched on it briefly with SMRT 2.0, but where do you see SMRT going maybe in the next year or two? Features, integrations, things that you like, blue sky, things that you would love to see integrated?
Sure. I think there's a few things. Like one, I'm really excited about the integration side of it. I think, after Autodesk and Procore we're actively working on today. We've looked at, say, Oracle construction products as well. Like I think that will keep growing with Trimble and others. So there's going to be a pretty long journey for us to keep integrating with more different players and improving information flow throughout. I think that the other side of it is as we can get better and we get critical mass on data, we can start thinking about using some of the AI tools to kind of create insights from it. What are the patterns of information that start coming in? That's a little bit of a ways away, but as soon as we get critical mass on data, the tools are all there, and we've got the engineers to do it. It's just we have to make sure that we have a really good foundational set of information. And that's what I see in the construction industry is the big problem with AI tools. AI tools are amazing, but if you don't have data, they've got nothing to stand on. And so we're trying to improve data getting into your system before we're trying to get fancy about the things we do with it.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense. If someone was on the fence and asked you why they should try SMART-E, what would you say?
I think it's going to make it easier for you. Like this is a convenience solution to make your life smoother and easier. And if I get you back to playing with the kids or to dinner 10 minutes earlier each day, like I'll call that a win.
Yeah, absolutely. What's one thing that you hope every SMART-E user feels when they try this product for the first time?
I think really great products, particularly AI products, they just work. And you start to forget that you ever didn't have them.
Right.
So I think of, it's hard for me to even imagine a world without Google Maps getting me from place to place.
Right.
And the reason I use it is it's good, it performs really reliably, it saves me time and frees up mental attention, right?
Yeah.
I want that experience to be it. So in many ways, I want to be forgotten. I want the world to be forgotten that they didn't ever have it.
Yeah, like just a universal or ubiquitous usage across the board. I think that's great. Is there anything else that you would want our audience to know about SMART-E or its iterations or its evolution or anything?
I think the biggest things people are playing around with is what if I am in different situations, right? So we talked about Procore and Autodesk and SmartBuild customers. But we're also, like just today, we made an update internally that I got a view on of if you had no system at all, how can I get the reporting into the field? So if you've got no system and you are kind of anti-technology or a bit behind, you've got a lot of paper out in the field, I'd love to chat to some of those people about just getting your safety reporting done in here.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have to be, you don't have to bite the entire potential at the same time. You can take it in baby steps. Like what is a form? I'm really excited about the idea of equipment forms. So right now, when you have to do a circle around your equipment and inspection at the beginning of the shift, that sits in a logbook potentially, or maybe it's in a cell phone. Like why can't we just have a QR code that sits on the side of the vehicle that anyone comes in, and then they walk around in a structured way, being talked through the 9 checks or whatever that they have to do, and that automatically goes in, and that's eliminating the idea of a lost logbook that causes you not to be able to do it. I heard of a case recently of 3 days delay on crane usage because the logbook and the crane went missing, right? If we can just solve that problem in like one time, we've paid off for the entire usage of the program across all of our users for the entire year. Like it's
incredible. Wow.
Like it's just the potential of just like stopping little problems is really high.
Yeah. That's fantastic. I don't have anything else for you right now. I really want to thank you for taking the time to talk to me again. I know you're like back to back and super, super busy. This is Alexis Nichols, staff writer for Under the Hard Hat with Rowan Steel-Hall, Chief Operating Officer at SmartBuild. Rowan, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.